some exciting speakers. And to introduce those speakers, the first special guest, I'm going to call upon SUMA President Randy Golden. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Randy.
Thank you very much, Joan. Let's have a huge hand of applause for this Saltcoats girl, Joan. Please, she's doing a fabulous job here today. So I just want to say, Joan and I went to the same high school, not together. I think I might have been, 3, 4, 5, 20 years ahead of her. But thank you very much, Joan, for being with us these last few days and another day, I hope. You'll still be here. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure this morning to introduce to you our next speaker. And unfortunately, the leader of the official opposition, Carla Beck, was unable to join us this morning. But MLA Matt Love is with us. He is the NDP caucus chair and critic for rural and remote health, education, and seniors. So he was able to be here this morning on short notice, and we thank him. So with more than 80% of the province's population living in our urban municipalities, in our villages, resort villages, towns, cities, and northern municipalities. We really appreciate MLA Love being with us today and to really talk with us about what their plans are for the future of our province. And also, we thank the NDP for the continued engagement that SUMA has had with them in our advocacy efforts. So fellow delegates, please join me in welcoming Matt Love.
Good morning, SUMA delegates, guests, sponsors, and all who gather here this morning. You're all leaders from hometowns from across our great province, and I want to welcome you here to my hometown, Saskatoon. It's a wonderful gathering place for us this morning and for you in your convention time here. I want to begin by expressing my gratitude as we gather in Treaty 6 territory to those original inhabitants of this land, the First Nations people, Métis people, and nations that have been stewards of this land for many generations before I was fortunate to come here and raise a family. My wife and I are raising 3 kids in the community that I represent, and I know that as we gather here today in the spirit of treaty and relationship, I want to reaffirm my own commitment to sharing the land, to learning from one another, and to living in harmony together. I want to thank Randy for that introduction and also reaffirm from the official opposition how much we value this relationship with SUMA, your leadership, Randy, and all the leaders who gather in this room, how important it is that we work together. We are truly stronger together as we learn to listen, work, and advocate for the people of Saskatchewan through that relationship. Now, unfortunately, Carla could not be with us this morning, and I do have some experience that's prepared me for this. Before I was elected, I was a teacher, and I did spend some time as a substitute teacher. And if you follow along, I guess I'm now in my first role as a substitute politician, getting the call at the last minute to step up and bring remarks on behalf of the Saskatchewan NDP opposition. Now, Carla did share some advice from me as her substitute, and she said that politicians have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that I should keep my remarks brief, which I will for 2 reasons. A, I'm not the leader that you left the trade show to come listen to, and B, I'd much rather spend as much time as possible chatting offstage, listening to you, and I invite anyone here who would like a conversation today with me, whether it relates to one of my critic areas or anything that I can share with any members of our team in opposition, Looking forward to those conversations, and please, I'm very approachable. If there's anything you'd like to discuss, don't be afraid to grab me in the lunch line, or I'll be back at the banquet tonight, and we can have those conversations. That's so important because you truly are the people that Saskatchewan looks to first for help and leadership. Mayors, councillors, when folks have a problem, we know it's your doors that they knock on. In our communities, folks know you. They trust you. That's how you got to where you are today. No matter the size of the community, whether you've been a local leader for roughly 3 years like myself, or maybe for decades, 30 or 40 years. I know we have people in this room that have served for nearly as long as I've been alive. We also know that you were likely leaders before you got elected. That's how you earned the trust to be an elected leader in your community. And it likely started then, that you struggled to go to a grocery store maybe with your children in tow, without somebody stopping you to talk about a concern that they have, to ask a question about a decision that you made that affected their life. Or maybe going to your kid's hockey practice or standing on the soccer pitch, and folks have insight that they want to offer you, some way that you can work to make their life better. Your community knows you, they rely on you, and they see you out there delivering on our most important public services. Day in and day out, you do this work. Saskatchewan is known for tight-knit communities. It's one of the things that makes our province so great, are those connections and relationships and the reliance that we have on one another, where neighbors actually know neighbors. And that means that you're connected. That connection, that's our strength in this province. You understand what your community needs, and other levels of government can and should be important partners in that work. If responsibility is downloaded, well, the right funding and the right support sure as heck better come with it. But let's not kid ourselves. We know that Ottawa and Regina aren't in touch at the grassroots level like you are. And often, the older that a government gets, no matter the party or the level, the more they think that they've got it all figured out and they know what's best. And I've heard many of you say that this is a real challenge. I share your concerns. Working with a government that keeps you in the dark or makes important decisions for you but without you. And that's not a partnership. Saskatchewan's brightest days are ahead, but we can only achieve that by working together. That's our vision for the Saskatchewan NDP. Stronger together, working in partnership, in relationship, with a common vision for the future of our province. And I want to explain where some of these comments are coming from in my recent experience as critic for rural and remote healthcare. I've been hitting the road a lot over the last few months with my colleague Vicky Moa at the MLA for Saskatoon Fairview and our health critic, and we've been invited out to communities. We've reached out to communities where we know they've experienced healthcare disruptions, challenges in staffing their facilities, challenges in providing the health care that people need, where they need it, when they need it. We've been touring the province for one reason: to listen to folks, to build relationships, and to reaffirm our commitment and our vision of being stronger together, working with local leaders and local voices in your communities. Along the way, we've also, due to the thousands of kilometers we've racked up, we've been supporting your local businesses, like your local automotive repair shops, your local bakeries. Vicky's got a love for cinnamon buns. She brings one home in every community we visit for her partner Grayson. And I'm often in search of the best burger. Right now, in top place is Southie. Anyone from Southie here? Yeah, got a great burger there. So we've been trying to hear from as many local leaders as possible. Mayors, councillors, local doctors, folks who work on their local district health committees, nurses, nurse practitioners, care aides, folks who work in long-term care, hospitals, acute care, you name it. And if I had to bet the farm on one thing, if there's one thing that's emerged from all of these outreach meetings and relationship building, that one thing is that local voices matter. The solutions that exist in your communities are there for the challenges we face in healthcare, challenges we face in economic growth, ensuring that we have good jobs for people in their communities, the challenges we face in education, ensuring that local school boards have autonomy to make good decisions that are right for their children and for their schools. The decisions that are made for the delivery of social services absolutely need local voices. And we know that when decisions are made without them, that folks fall through the cracks. Folks aren't getting the support that they need to be healthy and to live healthy. These solutions can and should be found at the local level that you know best. That's the way I see it. That's the value of the Saskatchewan NDP caucus. Saskatchewan has all the ingredients to boom, and to boom in a big way. We have the heart, we have the talent, and we've got the work ethic. Passionate folks with the finger on the pulse and innovative ideas in the works. What we need is a provincial government that listens. A government that gives local leaders the tools to deliver for their communities. We know that you feel that pressure when folks aren't having their needs met, when healthcare facilities are experiencing disruptions or shutdowns. We know that you feel that pressure, and you need to have a seat at the table for your solutions to come forward. That type of collaborative work could also begin today by removing the PST on construction. Many of you, myself included, and our NDP caucus have been raising the alarm on this for 5 years. We know that in your communities, 24 to 39% of your municipal revenue sharing grants are spent on PST for infrastructure projects. Many of those projects funded through ISIP grants, and it's a double tax. And at the end of the day, it forces you, in many cases, to increase taxes, for your ratepayers to be stuck with a higher bill. And that gets passed on, and we know that you're feeling that in your communities and around the tables where you sit and make decisions. We've heard you, and we echo your call. We want to remove barriers for growth and encourage local economic development any way we can, and that starts by listening to you. Again, that's our vision, working with you in relationship and listening to local voices. I know many of you also have no love for the PST on event tickets. It's sometimes called the fun tax by folks in the media. I don't have any love for that either. We've missed out throughout the last few years on major shows, big events, and the economic spin-off that they bring. We know that the margins in the entertainment sector are slim enough as it is, and just when our arts and culture, tourism, and big events are getting back on their feet, they're being stuck with a tax that is hurting that development. Our restaurants and hospitality sector were hit with new PST, and all of this during a cost of living crisis, no less. So let's scrap the PST on events and concerts and encourage folks to get out and support their communities. Now, the last thing that I'll mention is the cost of living crisis. It's been a real challenge in many of our communities. We know that this is not just in our largest communities in the province. When I get out into communities to talk about healthcare, we hear about the impacts of CIS. We hear about concerns of housing people. I know in the city where I live, here in Saskatoon, we know that this is a major concern. City I was in yesterday in Regina, we know it's a big concern, but I hear it when we get out into smaller urban centers as well. The cost of living crisis has created a real challenge across this province, and Saskatchewan folks look out for each other. It's who we are. We work together to get the job done. But we're also a proud bunch, and it's not often that we like to admit that we need help. But when you look at the numbers, folks in our province need a helping hand in a bad way right now. Angus Reid just released a new survey a few weeks back that indicated that Saskatchewan people report the highest rates of financial insecurity in the entire country. Folks here are more likely than anywhere else in Canada to cut back on spending, more likely to struggle to pay for groceries. We're more likely than anywhere in Canada to draw down savings to make ends meet. Inflation, coupled with higher energy rates, higher power bills, means that we have pressures in our community that lead to more homelessness. We know that we have addictions and mental health crises that are making this situation worse. And let's not kid ourselves. It is getting worse. Day by day, we see these pressures increasing and leading to greater homelessness. We know that that puts pressure on you as local leaders, that this is often downloaded for you to solve without the support and the resources that you need. We know that we have higher vacancy rates, more folks choosing between eating or heating. And all of this while we have thousands of vacant housing units spread across this province. This is not the Saskatchewan that I believe in, and I don't think that these are the values that we have as leaders in our province. Let's use those units to get folks housed. Housing people is the first step to solving many of these problems that we all know well. I don't need to go through that list. I know that you know these problems as well as I do, and as well as the folks who work in the legislature, folks who sit around your council tables know these well. So let's ensure that every level of government is working together to make life more affordable for the people that we represent. Let's get back to common sense solutions. I firmly believe that working together, we can and will meet our full potential as a province. Some of the most talented people who will make that happen are already on board, and many of them are in the room here with us today. I know that we can deliver a better future, the future that we want for our province, for our kids, for our grandkids, and for future generations, with good jobs that we can all be proud of, clean air and water that we share in the spirit of the treaty, strong communities, good schools, and hospitals that are there for us when we need them. Like I said before, our best days are ahead of us, and we look forward to building them with you together. Thank you.